Hi, my name is John McKeel, and I'm the author of the little book, Peter, the Friend of Jesus Speaks. In the series of lessons, we're going to look at the tiny epistle of First Peter. It's tucked away at the back of the New Testament, but it's full of practical admonitions and wisdom. But first, let's get to know Peter a little bit better. Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called Cephas," which, when translated, is Peter. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 42. Standing with the other 11 apostles on the day of Pentecost, Simon Peter was a very different man from the person who met Jesus 3 years before. What did Jesus see in Peter that we don't? Jesus accepted Simon for who he was, but Jesus also saw Simon's potential. Jesus was a carpenter and he understood patience. Our incident shaped the raw material of Peter's life into the rough-cut form of a man of God. John chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. On one occasion, while the crowd was pressing in on him to hear the word of God, he was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, and he saw 2 boats by the lake. But the fishermen had gone out of them and were washing their nets. Getting into one of the boats, which was Simon's, he asked him to put out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the people from the boat. And when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch." And Simon answered, "Master, we toiled all night and took nothing. But at your word I will let down the nets." And when they had done this, they enclosed such a large number of fish, and their nets were breaking. They signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so that they began to sink. And when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord." For he and all who were with him were astonished at the catch of fish that they had taken, and so also were James and John, sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on you will be catching men." And when they had brought their boats to land, they left everything and followed him. Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. Apparently, Peter met Jesus before this encounter. You can read about it in John chapter 1. And Peter liked him. So when Jesus asked to sit in his boat, the tired fisherman had no objections. It was the perfect platform for teaching the people. I wonder what Jesus said. Was it like the Sermon on the Mount, or did he tell parables? Whatever he said, Simon was listening as he washed and folded the nets. Then Jesus wanted to go fishing. That must have been a bit startling for Peter. He was a professional fisherman, and he explained, it wasn't the right time to fish, and besides, the fish weren't there. Jesus didn't say anything, but I wonder what Peter saw in the Lord's eyes. Finally, Peter agreed. Use your sanctified imagination to picture what happened next. What is more exciting for a fisherman than fish on? The catch was huge, and they needed help from their partners, and then it struck him, standing knee-deep in fish. This isn't natural. Simon Peter fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord." Peter confessed he was a sinner, but he probably knew that before. Like most of us, Peter just didn't acknowledge it. If Peter compared himself to others, he probably didn't think he was such an evil man. That's an understandable attitude. Perhaps he was just too busy to think about his spiritual life, and then he met Jesus. For the next 3 years, Peter followed Jesus, watching and listening to the Master, but still, Peter was too rough. The next step was the hardest, as Peter's ego had to be crushed. It was the critical moment, and the outcome wasn't certain. Then they seized him and led him away, bringing him into the high priest's house. And Peter was following at a distance. And when they had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat down among them. And then a servant girl, seeing him as he sat in the light and looking closely at him, said, "This man also was with him." But he denied it, saying, "Woman, I do not know him." And a little later someone else saw him and said, "You also are one of them." But Peter said, "Man, I am not." And after an interval of about an hour, still another insisted, saying, "Certainly this man also was with him, for he too is a Galilean." But Peter said, "Man, I do not know what you are talking about." And immediately, while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed, and the Lord turned and looked at Peter. And Peter remembered the saying of the Lord, how he had said to him, "Before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times." And he went out and wept bitterly. Luke chapter 22, verses 54 through 62. Forgiveness can be a tricky thing. God forgives us before we have forgiven ourselves. What does it take to put the past behind us and replace guilt with an attitude of gratitude? Peter denied Jesus 3 times, and so Jesus gave Peter a 3-fold charge in John chapter 21. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Feed my lambs." He said to him a second time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Tend my sheep." He said to him the third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was grieved because he said to him the third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." And Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. Truly, truly, I say to you, when you were young, you used to dress yourself and walk wherever you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will dress you and carry you where you do not want to go." This he said to show by what kind of death he was to glorify God. And after saying this, he said to him, "Follow me." John 21, 15 through 19. Jesus said to him, "Follow me," and the apostle Peter did. God bless everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you in our next lesson.